Get your steps in with me and sip some small town tea. Today, let's talk about two Chatsworth residents that were just arrested last month, Friday, April 11th, for a 24-year-old cold case murder that happened somewhere between Chatsworth, Georgia, where they're from, and Adairsville, Georgia, where the body of their victim was found. Let's get into it. Let's meet the murderers. We got 74-year-old Gary Wayne Fowler and 73-year-old Mary Ruth Fowler, both from Chatsworth, Georgia. I went to school with some Fowlers, so probably have like a big family around the area, probably pretty well known. However, I would like to add that I do not know them personally. Now, both of them are being charged with the victim's murder, and they're both being held in the Bartow County Jail. They were arrested Thursday and Friday, April 10th and April 11th. She was actually arrested first and booked in the county jail just after 6 p.m., and he was arrested Friday and booked into the county jail just before 6 p.m. Now, what on earth did they do? Now, here is a write-up I found from the Calhoun Times when it actually happened back in 2001. Y'all can pause this to read, but basically a man named Travis Silvers was found unalived in the passenger side of his 1978 Ford pickup truck on March 10th, 2001. There was a puncture wound on his head. They believed it to be a gunshot wound. And he was found in his truck in the Wendy's parking lot off the Adairsville I-75 exit. Basically, the truck had been there for quite some time, and someone concerned called in the police department and reported a suspicious vehicle, and they found him upon investigation. He was actually wrapped up in a bedding comforter. And when I read that, I just automatically thought, like, it seems like Gary and Mary, one of them must have drove the truck there with him in the passenger seat and parked it there, and then maybe the other followed behind in their own vehicle, and then they continued up I-75 back to Chatsworth. It's not that far of a drive from Adairsville, but it is a good ways. Also note that they said there was no gunpowder residue and no bullet damage to the vehicle, so right off the rip, we know he wasn't killed in this Wendy's parking lot inside of his vehicle. He was unalived somewhere else and dropped off at this location intentionally so as to be found by law enforcement, and that's what law enforcement believe as well. I did some light snooping. The victim, Travis Silvers, was a 51-year-old man. Mary and Gary would have been around the same age as him at the time of the murder, and there was a family member of Travis's that commented, and someone that knew him from a local Kingston cafe where they would have breakfast with him regularly. Apparently, people have said that he was a great guy. They never knew of him to have any trouble with anybody, and they don't know why anybody would want to harm him this way. But then I found this. Pause to read, because this is where it gets interesting. Less than a year before this happens to Travis, a man named Granger Howell is set up by the feds. He's busted trafficking in a hotel off I-75 in Dalton, the Best Western, and he names Travis as his supplier when he's slapped with a 15-year sentence. So he basically makes a deal and says that he will work for lesser time, and the feds agree so long as he can prove that Silvers is his snow dealer. Apparently there's some friction between the two. Silvers threatens Howell, and Howell continues to have communications with him despite it endangering the FBI's informant. The FBI's informant wore a wire and made a purchase from Howell, but there was never any evidence that Howell or that CI obtained that would go against Silvers. And all of the authorities on the case either declined to comment whether or not that these incidents are related, either to protect evidence, to not interfere with the homicide because it was an ongoing investigation, or maybe to cover it up because they were directly connected and they did not want that getting out to the public. Lieutenant Mylan, who was on the case, literally said that any attempts to make a connection with the homicide have led to a dead end. Dead end. But yet this guy named Silvers on the stand as his dealer. Now, it's a lot of little secrets in this town, and I just cannot help but wonder if the Fowlers were not in business with Howell and Silvers. And being that Howell was going off to prison for that big old sentence, knowing that he couldn't get any substantial evidence against his dealer to lessen his time, the same dealer that threatened his life, it makes me think, like it probably makes y'all think, that maybe this was a hit job. What if the police got to Silvers and he was willing to give up information on someone else, like his dealer? Just me personally, I could see Howell being so upset about his sentencing that he would have something done to Travis just for the fact. At first, I wondered if maybe it could have been an infidelity situation. Maybe, because the victim was the same age as the murderers, maybe they were caught together in some type of love triangle. But honestly, I don't think it was that. I think that it was a drug triangle, which we know is all too common in Chatsworth and Dalton, Calhoun, Rome, Adairsville. All of these areas close by are very well known for trafficking. So it just leads me to believe even further that this was all wrapped up in a trafficking operation, and unfortunately Travis lost his life being in cahoots with the wrong folks. Or what if there was information or evidence acquired against Travis and he was working for the Fowlers and they got rid of him so as to get the mess away from the business? I mean, the case was cold for 24 years. They got away with it. Until now, they literally got away with it. What do y'all think? What do y'all think their motive was? The police is not releasing any information because it's still an ongoing investigation. Even though they've been arrested, they are not releasing any information that they have related to their motive of doing this or their method. So let me know what y'all think in the comments.